Hello and welcome to the Pink in the City podcast. Pink in the City is a breast cancer charity. We are raising awareness and funds and providing information and inspiration. Please share this episode with the world and join us in our mission. And now, let's proceed to today's episode.
Welcome to our Pink in the City podcast today. I'm Denise Vourtzoumis, and today we're talking about a new research program with Dr. Burnier from the MUHC. Welcome, Dr. Burnier.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the program details.
Sure. I'm a researcher at the Research Institute of the MUHC, and my focus is on understanding how cancer progresses. And my laboratory here at the RI, MUHC, is really focused on novel methodologies, new innovative ideas to monitor cancer patients while they're on treatment and to find new ways to bring personalized medicine to the clinic.
That's wonderful. And tell us about your partnership and your work with Dr. Metastasis.
Yes, it's a great honor and privilege to be working with Dr. Metastasis on this project for breast cancer patients. One of the things that my laboratory focuses on is a new technique called liquid biopsy, which some people may have heard about. It's the idea that as patients receive treatment and as their disease continues, we have to always have ways to monitor the disease and to sample their tissue. And so most patients receive biopsies, and we use those biopsies to find the molecular characteristics and to determine what the best course of treatment is. In recent years, because of new techniques and how we can, new sensitive techniques that have how we can sample disease, we're now using liquid biopsy, which is the idea that instead of requiring surgical biopsies throughout disease treatment, that we can use biofluids like the blood or saliva, urine that are much less invasive, and it gives us an opportunity to monitor patients closely. So Dr. Metastasis and I have partnered up to bring this to the breast cancer population at the MUHC. And we're really excited to start with this project where we'll be sampling biofluids from patients and using that as a really sensitive and very personalized way to monitor how the disease is going, whether patients are responding to treatment in a very close way.
That's awesome. It's really, really fantastic to hear. So why was this study chosen exactly?
I think it's a study that brings a lot of the idea of precision oncology. These are buzzwords that we hear: personalized medicine, precision medicine. But liquid biopsy really gives us an ability to monitor in a very personalized way a specific patient's disease at a specific time. And this has been such a big challenge, both in how we care for patients clinically, but also in cancer research, that we rely so much on tissue biopsies that patients have had that are very important for us to diagnose the disease and for that baseline assessment. But we know that cancer changes. Cancer cells, unfortunately, seem to, want to stay one step ahead, and they're changing as patients are undergoing treatment. And we really need to stay up to date on the information of a particular patient's disease, not just have a one size fits all type of approach, but really say, how can we monitor patients individually and understand their disease very intimately and closely? And so I think this project that we're initiating is something that really addresses this need to move towards personalization of our care. It is something that the scientific and the medical world are turning towards. I think this is a really exciting time where liquid biopsy approaches are coming to the clinic, are being used. And I think it's time that we do that here at the MUHC so that we can provide really cutting edge technologies to the cancer patients in our hospital.
That's really amazing. And so the fundraiser that we are doing next month and all the funds that we're going to raise from now until then is going to directly support this program. And so how important is it for people to understand that the funds will definitely be used for this?
The fundraising for this project and the amazing work that Pink in the City is doing is really vital to us being able to conduct this study. The funds are going towards exactly the research that feeds right into clinical care. So this is something that every cent, every dollar is going directly to be able to look at the samples from breast cancer patients in our hospital, conduct the assays, bring the most up-to-date, most cutting-edge molecular information to the clinicians so that we can really monitor these patients very closely and understand their disease, with the hope of course, always providing the most personalized and best care possible. Really, to say that this project is not possible without the funding it's very, very accurate. We really do rely on the generosity of these types of programs, and Pink in the City is really amazing to support us. So it will all be 100% going to this project. And I think one of the really nice things about this particular project that Dr. Metarizzian and I are doing together is that all of the expertise, all of the equipment, all of the technology and methods are already in place. We have developed them, we have optimized them, we have tested them. And so everything is in place for us to really start testing the samples and to start bringing this to patients directly. So we're really at that stage. This is not a stage where we're still, optimizing the methodologies. It's all already here. And it's all here at the MUHC and the RI MUHC. It's in my laboratory and the facilities here at the RI. So this is not something we're sending off to somewhere else. It's really an analysis that we can do here and have the results quickly right here in our center.
Yeah, which is awesome. And we're really proud of the involvement that we have in being able to fundraise for such an important research program. So thank you for sharing that with us. So can you give us a little bit more detail on, so how are the patients selected for this program? Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Sure. This type of technology can be really applicable to any cancer patient here at our hospital. What we've decided to do is Dr. Metarizzian has already established the Canada's largest registry of metastatic breast cancer patients. And we know how important understanding and research in the metastatic setting is, because this is really when a big clinical challenge, and we really need to address this type of disease very carefully. And Dr. Metarizzian has previously, in a few years ago, established a registry, and really it's incredible how many patients he has included in this registry, where we have all of the information and samples to really conduct the best research to provide the best care for these patients. One of the things that's lacking in this registry was the inclusion of liquid biopsy, because at the time when this was being set up, this wasn't something that was possible yet. And so our goal here is to now include liquid biopsy sampling. So this will be the first thing that we do, is to bring liquid biopsy to this registry, which is already in place. And I think that's really a key aspect of this project, is that everything is already in place, but to bring liquid biopsy sampling. And so what that entails is that the first, for 1 year, we're going to be now including, instead of just a regular registration of patients onto this registry with their clinical information and biopsy information, we are now including sampling of their biofluids, and that will be their blood samples. And it will be a really powerful way to have the most up-to-date information for these patients as they're being followed while they're on treatment. And this will really give a really comprehensive view of their disease, of whether they're responding to treatment. And so the registry currently has approximately 600 patients enrolled. But here we're going to start with the first 1 year of newly diagnosed patients with metastatic breast cancer, which will be somewhere between 70 and 80 patients that will be included. And these patients will have samples taken to be able to monitor their disease very closely. So we're really excited to start in this way. I think this is a patient population that really can benefit from this innovative and new approach, and that ultimately will receive better care by being monitored closely for their disease.
Wow. So these patients, and you mentioned they're metastatic breast cancer patients.
That's right.
So does that mean that the disease has already spread?
Yes. When we talk about metastatic disease, it is when the disease has spread past the primary site, which is something that happens in 1 in 5 breast cancer patients. And it's a disease that we have to follow carefully because it can be more aggressive, and it can be a disease that can change rapidly. So we need to keep a very close eye on what's happening, not just at the patient level, but really at the molecular level. What are the gene mutations? What are the molecular changes that are happening? And we can now, thanks to these amazing technologies, we can now do that using blood samples without having to go in surgically and take biopsies, once a month, which is invasive, and we can't do that. We can now use blood samples to be able to detect within those blood samples the molecules that come directly from the cancer. It really is an amazing methodology. And I think even if I had known about this when I started my PhD many, many years ago, I would have thought it was science fiction. So it's really amazing that we've gotten here with these scientific advances.
Mm-hmm. And so once I guess while you're paying close attention to the progress of the patient and all of this, if you see a change, then how do you respond to that through this program?
Yeah, that's a great question. Liquid biopsy is a new technique. So what we have to do is accumulate enough information showing that it can help make better decisions for patients throughout treatment. The good news with liquid biopsy is that specific liquid biopsy assays are already FDA approved. So these are things that are coming directly to the clinic. The goal of this project is to really correlate what we see in the blood in these liquid biopsy samples to how the patient is doing. And what that translates to in the future is that we can make better decisions for a patient based on what we see on these non-invasive tests. What that means on a day-to-day level is that if a patient is not responding to treatment, but maybe we don't know that yet, but the blood samples have already demonstrated to us that perhaps that patient isn't responding as well as we had hoped or anticipated, that's the right time to perhaps try something else. And what these samples also provide us, again, this very personalized view, this very molecular signature of that patient, not just, of any cancer patient, but that particular patient, is it gives us a way to also think about targeted therapies. We're in this era of personalized medicine, of targeted therapies. Targeted therapies means treatments that are really designated to target a patient's specific molecular profile, and we can see that information from blood samples. So ultimately, while right now we're still in the research setting, ultimately the goal is to bring this directly to the clinic so that the clinician, a particular patient's doctor, can make the best choices on what treatment to give, the timing of that treatment, and if there's targeted therapies that could be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then as a result, can you give us some metrics on metastatic breast cancer and how that translates to, for us to understand, some of the
Sure. So in Quebec, for example, we have about 6,000 women in the province diagnosed with breast cancer each year. And about 1 in 5 of these women will develop metastatic disease. So it is something that happens in many patients. And so this translates to, over 1,500 patients just in our province with metastatic disease, meaning it has spread beyond the primary tumor. And what metastatic disease, one of the challenges that we face is that it tends to be more treatment resistant. So the same treatments that might have been effective for a primary breast cancer may not be as effective in the metastatic setting. It's also a disease that tends to change its course quickly. And that's why I think the choice between Dr. Metarizzian and myself to start in the metastatic setting is appropriate here, is because this is a disease, this is the disease context or the setting where we really need to follow these patients very closely. So in the primary breast cancer setting, where a disease might be stable for quite many years and be controlled for many years, that is a bigger challenge in the metastatic setting. So the choice of treatments becomes something that needs to be decided very carefully, and really importantly, when to change those treatments to something that could be more effective needs to be done very rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, this is really great information, and it sounds like your lab and both you and Dr. Metarizzian definitely have the best interests for everyone at heart. And with this program and these actions, definitely, can save lives.
No, absolutely. And I think, here at the MUHC, we're in a world-class center where the treatment that patients receive and I mean this in a very holistic way, in terms of the medicines, but also in the holistic wellness treatments that women receive here in our breast cancer clinics, is really world-class. And so as new technologies become available, something that 5 years ago might not have been available or 10 years was not available, we really need to stay up to date in really providing the best possible care. And so I really, with this project and working with the amazing Dr. Metarizzian and his team, and with you and your team, is really to envision a future, a very close future, not 10 years down the line, but really in the short term, where we can provide the best possible follow-up care to patients so that we can make the best treatment decisions. And really, ultimately, like you said, it's to save lives, it's to prolong life. And really important to me too is quality of life, right? This is a non-invasive test. Unfortunately, it's rare that we can provide non-invasive testing. So it's really exciting to be able to provide something that will eventually save lives and has such an impact, but also provides right now better quality of life for patients as they're dealing with their cancer diagnosis and their treatment.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, certainly the community plays a very important role as we we all kind of work together to raise the funds, create the awareness, and everybody definitely has their role cut out for them, no doubt. But I'm really, really excited to see what we can do and fundraise, the money that we need for this program. So what would you say, like a program like this costs?
Well, that's a challenging question. Ultimately, our goal is to start with this smaller project, which costs all in all about $150,000 to see the impact that we can have in this patient population that I mentioned. But the real goal is to really expand this to all breast cancer patients. Just in the metastatic setting, like I said, 600 women are already in this registry, and we don't want to stop at the first 70. We really want to go further. But it's like you said, we rely heavily on our communities to provide the way forward for us to be able to do this. Unfortunately, we know cancer research is underfunded, and it's difficult to get funding for projects. And so we really do rely so much on the efforts of fundraisers, of the community, of all the donors that are so generous to provide us with the means to be able to conduct these types of projects.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for the important work that you are doing with Dr. Mederisian to definitely improve the quality of life for these patients that have been diagnosed. And I know it's a small gesture to donate and to get involved in this really amazing campaign, but we definitely are looking forward to raising as much money as we can for this program. And we can't really do that. First of all, we have a great organizing committee and the role that they're playing to, bring the sponsors and get the donations and get the gifts in kind. And everybody is really, really working hard to make all that happen. Our goal is to raise 150,000 if we can with all of our sponsorships and community. So it's really truly remarkable that we can, as a community and as a team, and working with your team, that we can make it happen. I'm really confident that we'll definitely make it happen.
but I have to correct you, Denise. You said it's a small gesture. It's a huge gesture on your part and on the part of everyone involved in Pink in the City, and to all the generous donors. Really, it isn't possible without this partnership, and that's how we see it. It's a partnership between all of us to bring the best care to patients. So it really is a huge gesture, and we're so incredibly grateful.
Thank you. So I think that about wraps up our session today. Any last words before we wrap it up?
No, just a big thank you to everybody involved, and to everybody listening too, who has taken interest in what we do. You can always reach out if ever you want to know anything else. We're always very happy to talk about this and to engage with people in our community who partner with us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Burnier, for taking time from your very busy schedule to share with us all of this insight, and thank you for all of your contributions, which are really remarkable, with your team and your lab to make all of this research possible. I know that it's really, really important for us to provide the funds, and so thank you for your unwavering support and all of this to make it happen. So we're definitely going to do our best to do what we need to do as a community and as a team.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.